You know you need to hire an assistant. Maybe even I've convinced you of that, but you have no idea where to start. Stay tuned. Let's talk about that right now. I'm Sylvie McCracken from sylviemccracken.com, and today I want to share with you some simple tips to hire a great first assistant. And even if this isn't your first assistant, these tips will apply to you for your next hire to make it a little more efficient, a little bit less painful, and to make sure that you're hitting every step that you need to hit, right? So my goal with everything, with being an efficient business owner, is how can I save myself headaches, especially down the road, but also time in general. Sometimes that means doing a little more time up front to save yourself time in the long run. And having turnover with your team is a bit of a time suck. So if you can minimize that by getting those hires right in the first place, that's huge. So the main word of the day with this is filter. Filter, 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 filter. In every step of the way with your hiring process, you want to have filters in place so that, for example, if you're attracting the right short list to interview, you're not interviewing 20 people. You should be interviewing 3 to 5, maybe, but not more than that, right? So we need to get those first steps right. So how can you do this? Well, first of all, you can write that killer job description as best as you possibly can. So the goal of this job description, right, the job post that you can go to Upwork.com and post, or Craigslist if you're looking for someone locally in your area, or that you can email to your list if you want to find someone from your current audience, or that you can email to a couple of colleagues to see if they know anyone or have anyone to recommend that would be great. You need a job description, right? So you want to write this almost like you would write a sales page. If you have a product that you're selling, chances are you maybe have drafted a sales page before, and the goal of a sales page is to attract your ideal customer and repel the customer that you don't want to work with. Well, similarly, this job description should attract the right person for your team and should repel the wrong person. So in this, you don't want to kind of, create a picture that is not really the real deal, right? You get better at this as you go along. So if this is your very first hire, chances are you're going to learn a lot more when you actually put it in practice. But you want to give a very clear description of the type of person that you need, personality wise, you want to give a clear description of who you are as a business owner, as the CEO, as the boss. You want to give a clear description of your company, what it does and doesn't do, what their days might look like. So for example, if you are hiring someone for customer service and all of your customer service is on email, you need to make that clear, right? Some people might have worked in customer service before, but they might be used to the phone, or vice versa. If your customer service is via chat, and I heard recently of someone who took a customer service job and didn't end up being happy because they didn't understand that chat was part of the job. Now that's a very simple example of something that could have been filtered out where that person shouldn't have even been interviewed. Do you know what I mean? So that's a filter you definitely want to have. A second really great filter that I like to use even when I'm hiring for a housekeeper is, for me, being a detail-oriented person is a must for any position on my team. That's just a personal preference, might not be as important to you, but I love minimizing mistakes as much as possible. Of course, we all make them, but if we can minimize them, that's awesome. And in order to do that, we need attention to detail, right? So what I do in my job descriptions is I include a filter word that I ask respondents to use in their replies. So you can use any word you'd like, but what I like to do is say, please include this word in your reply so that I know that you've read this post in its entirety. So for me, that's huge. And then we use a form to collect that data. And so if that word is not present, we can easily delete those replies and not even bother with those people at all. So with this form, we can really nail down a little bit and get a little bit shorter of a list. So if you have an assistant, they can do this, or if you don't yet and you're hiring your first, you can go through this form and go ahead and delete anyone that hasn't replied with your filter word or any other really glaring, obvious, like hell no's. Go ahead and delete those rows entirely. And then, with this spreadsheet, basically, you can very quickly go to the things that are most important to you. Do they have those, particular tools, experience with those particular tools that you need? Of course, if you're hiring someone to do, image design and you want them to, be good with Photoshop and they're saying they don't have Photoshop experience, those are very easy ways to go ahead and delete people right away. I see way too many people going straight to an interview when certain things could have been disqualified in 3 seconds. They don't take 30 minutes to disqualify, right? So that takes you to the next thing. Of course, you have to interview these people. My favorite is to get on a Skype call, or, unless you're interviewing for a position in person, which of course you should sit across the table from them. But if you're doing virtual, definitely get on a video call. It's as close as you can get to sitting across the table from someone, and it'll really give you a different experience, right? Because here's the sort of biggest takeaway you should have from the interview process is, and guys, I have interviewed for myself. I've hired people for myself when I had a very small budget just starting out. And I've also hired for clients that have unlimited budgets, really. And we've hired, we could really afford the top talent. And a lot of this is the same. When you go to an interview, you really want to focus on hiring for character over skills a lot of the time. Now, of course, if you're hiring someone that you want to be great at design or at editing or something like that, and they don't have those skills, then, obviously you have to kind of use your judgment there. But a lot of the times I have gone for someone that is perhaps a little less skilled than the other person, but because their character, their ability to take personal responsibility, their attention to detail, their punctuality to the interview, all of those things to me are super duper important. This is a long-term relationship you're gonna have with this person, and you want to make sure that you're not pulling your hair out on, 6 months down the line, but, even worse, pulling your hair out week 1 when they're late, they didn't meet the deadline, you told them blue and they chose green instead, etc., right? So it doesn't matter how skilled the person is, sometimes those other things are super duper important. And the last thing that I'm going to tell you, and before I tell you that, if you want my interview questions, my short list that I use as a template for every single position that I interview, I'm going to put a button below, a link to them below, so that you can go ahead and download them for yourself. Of course, some of these have to be tweaked a little bit when you're hiring, a designer. You want to add a few more questions that are applicable to that role. Or if you're hiring, a customer service person, you might have a few role-specific questions you want to add to it. But I would use these questions in every position that you hire from. You're welcome. Okay, and the last thing that I want to tell you is definitely build in a little bit of time to onboard and train them. Now, I know it's really tempting. You've been wanting this assistant for a long time. You already feel stretched in a million directions. You finally found the person that you think is the perfect person, and now you just want to hand them the keys and say good luck. Welcome, and I'm off to do what I've been, postponing because I haven't had you for so long. You absolutely do need to onboard. It doesn't matter how good the person is. No one is a mind reader. I have yet to find someone that I can hire that has read my mind. You do need to onboard and train this person. Now, of course, I'm a big systems and processes geek, so we'll cover that in another video. I highly recommend that you have systems and processes, and that's as close as you can get to really handing your business over if you have those things already set up. But we'll talk about that in a separate video. I hope this has been helpful. Please share it with a friend, and I will see you soon.